from what I understand with that idea is that every time the house sells, 0.1% of that sale price will go to this particular organisation that would be set up to...
Yeah, so it goes into like a pool of donations which can be used to fund grants and community housing providers. So then again, building on that kind of, we're selling this one, but we're putting money towards building more and creating, more homes for more people who are, without homes.
Going once, going twice, sold! You're listening to The Property Pod.
All right, guys, welcome back to The Property Pod, your weekly engagement into real estate here in the Hobart Marketplace. I'm joined at the desk by our real estate agents here at 414 Property Co, John McGregor and Patrick Berry. How are we, guys?
Mate, crushing it.
Crushing it. Holy moly.
I'm excited to be on this side of the desk.
Yeah, you leave for 1 week and John's crushing it and Pat's just like, I'm so glad I don't have to press those buttons again.
I've got new grey hairs I didn't know I had when Chris came in last week.
Man, I got to say, editing that together again, Chris, absolute superstar. Like, he can come in any time and have a yarn. Just going through the first part of it, he's just saying, like, why do you want to, do it? I was just like, this is something that everybody should at least think about. Like, do you want to actually own 30 properties or do you just need one or two? Or, it was really cool. Start to the investor series and we can just kind of keep growing from there.
All I can say is, I'm so excited you got an episode together, because when you were editing it the other day and the first bit of footage you bring up and you're like, yeah, Pat, you've cut Chris completely out of the frame of the shot. I'm like, oh, shit.
So that's that one moment where you wish you had the masks on again. So
that was only like half a head.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the safety camera that we used for the GoPro basically was just you two, and I was just like, man, like you might have big egos, but you could have at least framed up the guests. So, there was some crafty editing, but shout out to another cracking episode. Thanks, Chris, for coming in and being part of the show, and we'll definitely have more with Chris, and we've had some really good feedback on all the investor stuff. So, look, it's one side of the coin. There's plenty of other discussions that we've been having, and one of those that kind of is really the hot topic item in Hobart and across Australia at the moment is this affordability stuff. Yeah. So we've kind of been covering off a fair bit of the stuff like that. It's interesting that we've kind of created this little bubble of information where it's kind of, this is the hot topic that we're going to talk about. There's ways to help people buy and stuff, but we're still kind of covering off on this affordability stuff, and a few of the topics I got today are right up in that space.
Yeah, and with that too, it is kind of fun just to explore all the ideas that people are putting out there, because at this point, rather than, I suppose, we're not worrying about having too stronger opinions. I mean, we've just got our own little 20 cents, 50 cents, I guess you could say.
I'm glad you started with 20. You're like, no,
it's worth 50. I'm a little bit more. I've been around the block once or twice, and it's really fun to see that. And there's so many different new ones coming up consistently to try and help as many people as possible.
And the best bit about this conversation that we're having is today we're recording this the day after the budget's been released. And so I'm sure over the coming weeks a lot more will be unpacked from that, as well as when the opposition give their rebuttal. There's going to be crazy more ideas come through, I think.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see what either objection or new ideas they're going to have to this. Because the Liberal government threw a lot of stuff at them, that's for sure.
But that's not today, because we're not clever enough to unpack that. We need to wait for other people to tell us what it says.
Unlike the first episode of the pod ever.
Yeah, there was an awkward silence in the air there. It's just like, I'm not jumping on this one. I brought notes for some other stuff. Nino's put those together. I want to talk about that. I know nothing about the budget. I claim to know nothing about real estate, but budgets, woo! No, the first thing I want to jump on today is this social enterprise article that I came across, something that's trying to move into Tasmania. It's kind of taken off across the rest of Australia. It's based on like a US idea, but this organisation, or this what are they called, a non-for-profit, is basically, when you go over to Melbourne for the footy, or you go to a concert or something like that, and there's somebody selling the magazines on the street, kind of like the homeless people or people who
the big issue magazines.
The big issue. So looking into this topic, I was like, the big issue, I know that. What's the big issue? And then I was just like, oh, holy crap, this is like them growing and expanding beyond kind of just this magazine and trying to empower people who are living it rough. This is kind of so they call it the Home for Home scheme. And essentially it is organising kind of a caveat in the contract of sale that will kind of like once the sale goes through, I think it donates 0.1% of the sale price. So a small fraction of the sale price.
I like they call it a donation deed, which I thought was an interesting
That's
way
clever.
to describe it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's like a secondary deed attached to the property, which is a donation. So 0.1%, as you said, Aaron, which is nothing. Like John maths is amazing. Before the show, we worked out that on a $500,000 sale, that's $500.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like much, but you get more people to sign up to this, and that would generate some serious money right across the
Yeah,
country.
and the important thing to distinguish here is that when it's a caveat on the title, it means that potential donation deed can carry over through multiple ownerships. So from what I understand with that idea is that every time the house sells, 0.1% of that sale price will go to this particular organisation that would be set up to...
Yeah, so it goes into
receive
like a pool of donations which can be used to fund grants and community housing providers. So then again, building on that kind of, we're selling this one, but we're putting money towards building more and creating, more homes for more people who are, without homes.
It's a really interesting idea, and I suppose that little bit you're probably not going to miss in Melbourne with an average sale price of $1 million. It's $1,000 in that sense. So you're probably not really going to miss it. However, what it does allow people to do is opt out if you want to. So it wouldn't be that once it's on there, you've a person set this up 30 years ago and then no one's allowed.
Yeah, you're stuck with it for life with this deal that you
can get out. But I'll do that. Donation deed is a kind of a nice way to recognise what it is. So you don't have to, you don't have to fork out the money today. It's only going to be right at the last minute, where just the $1,000 goes to a particular charity once all that money hits your bank account.
Yeah, so there was information night, I think Monday the 28th of March, that was, basically come along and find out a bit more information on this. I think it still needs to go through the land titles. You guys will know more about this
the
than me.
Lands Titles Office, which controls obviously which in effect is just those that say it goes from transfers the title from one person's name to another person's name.
Yeah, so they're still seeking approval from that aspect of it all, but the wheels are in motion for this potential idea to get up and running, which is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how it will, the real uptake. I know the attraction would try and be to get on the early bird with developers, and where I don't know what the curious thing if they brought developers on board is whether or not that on each sale, whether or not the development would actually be donating that as a giant pool, or whether or not once the development's finished, then all the new owners just opt into this idea.
Yeah. So, well, it's a bit like, so what they describe it as a caveat, and for people that don't understand what that is, it's just restrictions as to what you're required to do with the property.
Yes.
So normally we don't see them in this sense, but we might see a developer on a house subdivision where it's just vacant land, put a rule in that says nobody can build two-story properties on these certain blocks.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I've seen examples where the developer still has their own personal family home on the site and they don't want to lose their water view. So the ones that are in front of their house can't be 2 stories, but then the ones
ones
either
behind
side
it,
can.
they're fine. Yep.
So that's how it's been used in a more traditional sense, is putting restrictions on what you can and can't do with it. But yeah, this is a new take on it, and I actually really like it. I think it's quite a clever approach. And it says here in Nino's notes that they've already raised $52.5 million worth of donations in the pipeline. So
That's interesting.
that's already a big
It's a serious
big
amount
bank of
money.
coin.
Yeah, that otherwise didn't exist. And the other thing too is that it means for a person to donate that becomes a lot more easy. It becomes easier because you are seeing a huge amount of money just hit your bank account from a sale. So that small little contribution isn't something you'd miss all that much.
Yeah, it's often like when
That's
you're
once
at the
off.
chemist or something like that, and they'll say, do you want to donate a little bit of $2 to the such foundation?
You want to round up to
round up to this. I'm like, not a problem. Happily do that.
2
sort of
cents
thing.
is nothing,
Yeah.
like whatever. But you add that across all the transactions that they do, and it's big money.
Yeah, well, talking of developers, this other one, the last little bit I saw on this was that the Melbourne-based developer, I think it's Milieu Property, which is the preferred developer for the Macquarie Point, like getting all that set up, creating the homes there. They've got a homes for homes clause in their sales contracts now. So basically, they're getting in with big developers and saying like, yeah, cool, we'll jump on board this. And I know there's other companies that will put in, like we donate this much of our commission to
Well, I think it's
That's
just
charity of your choice sort of thing, which is something we've looked into.
Yeah, I think it's just that social responsibility that so many companies are looking at these days. Like we do it with Climate Gap here and trying to offset our carbon footprint.
Exactly.
There's other companies out there here in Hobart that donate $500 out of the commission to to charities as part of their branding. And I think it just comes back to companies wanting to be more social aware of the impact that their businesses are having and what can they do to improve the situation.
And that's the little pessimist hat I'll put on for just 1 second is where then the direction of these charities and what their mission statement's going to be. Because if all of a sudden you're amassing a serious amount of money,
how do you not waste it?
That's it. And I think a lot of time too, and it's sad. It's a sad reality that some charity organisations are so heavily ridden with administrative costs that so little of the actual amount goes to the people in need. And so before even if I was to sign off my home onto this, I'd be like, okay, no worries. That sounds like a great idea. What the heck are you going to do with this?
Yeah. I guess like one thing that I really liked is when I found out that it was like a big issue kind of initiative. I was like, oh, they've been around a while and they seem to be kind of in the right side of the coin. They're not kind of like give us all your money and we'll.
So you like the fact that they've got track record backing behind them.
I guess
they're not just a brand new charity that's opened up. They're a well-established one.
Exactly.
And they are. Like I remember her when I was a little kid going to the football Melbourne trips.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there you go.
Yeah, no, you meet a character when you're at the footy or you're coming back from the concert or whatever and you kind of have a great time and it's one of the things you'll get back and tell your family, like, oh, I was cruising down the street and I got a big issue and read it. I actually really liked reading them back in the day as well. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, no, the fact that it's something that's been established previously and this is kind of, where they're branching out now, it feels like it's something cool. I liked reading the article about it and I'd love to know more about it moving down the track. Maybe we can reach out to someone from there to have a yarn with us.
That would be really interesting.
And find out a bit more about it. Because, I loved finding out about it. And the more I've delved into it, I thought, this would be cool if it's something that, even if I don't know when I sell my place, if I just can work out kind of, I'll add this to the fund. If I don't, even without the caveat.
Yeah.
But that's the other interesting thing about the caveat, though. Like they're saying $52 million now in the pipeline. Average home is 5 to 7 year hold time. That's another guaranteed almost $52 million coming back in 5 or 7 years' time. So keep compounding that with new sales every single year. Like this idea at 0.1%, in another 5 to 10 years' time, that's just a money monster machine.
Yeah, exactly.
With the amount of transactions that take place in Australia every year.
Well, then the other side of it is like once the fund starts to get used, that's building, so that's adding more jobs, that's creating more opportunities for people. So it's this ongoing, growing effect just from this kind of simple little donation.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, me too. I'm into it.
Look, in the end, ultimately, if it always becomes voluntary, well, you can just always say no. Like it can always be an option, but you just say no. So there's no point, getting uppity about it. It's like, well, I don't want to be a part of it. Like, no worries.
Yeah.
Don't.
And if you are selling for reasons where you're kind of in a tricky spot and you can't afford that little extra bit, then
don't worry about it.
Totally understandable as well. So
yeah,
interesting little idea. Would definitely like to find out more about it. Watch this space. We might even get some blog issues out there to the blog issues from the big issue. It writes itself. Before we finish up today, I did want to jump over to the cost of living is really quite high at the moment. We've talked about fuel briefly on another episode a few weeks back and just how crazy things have gotten on that front. But this also links back to when we talked about the ferries. Something else really cool that's that kind of seems to be in the pipeline here in Hobart and Tassie is they want to kind of expand the ferry trial, which seems to be a big test and a big success.
Isn't that cool though? Like, a year ago, people were like, the ferry's never going to work. No one's going to use it. We're not Sydney. We don't have the population to justify it. And now they're already talking about rolling out to expand the experiment further with additional points.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, this is like Hobart, Glenorchy, Clarence and Kingborough mayors all getting together and saying, look, we probably need another 20 million over the next 3 years to expand the ferry service, but like we're all for it and we want to pop it in all these spots. And I think it's crazy. Like we've talked about the how the rail's not being used and that seems like a waste, but if they can use the river, like why not? Let's go for it. And
that'd be awesome.
Well, and that's the thing because that is one, the geographical problem of Hobart is you've got mountains and rivers. It is really difficult. So the fact that they could open it up is actually just really exciting, just to give some other options.
I think, though, as we've spoken about in previous episodes, to make it really successful, there needs to be some sort of form of parking at the ferry terminals because the idea is to remove the cars from the centre of the city. Well, you still need to get to the, like they're talking about Wilkins Point, for instance, for a ferry terminal.
Yep, which we've talked about before.
Which is great, but there's nothing there at the moment. So
Yeah.
it's a big open space, which would be awesome for a car park for people to park and then ferry in, which is great. But they need to commit to that infrastructure as well. There's no point having these ferry terminals in the middle of nowhere if no one's going to utilise them.
Oh, I'm lost
Yeah.
now. Where's Wilkinson's Point?
Isn't that, am I on the wrong
Is that
part?
Gasp?
Oh, that's where I thought it was.
Oh, isn't there like a massive car park at like the MyState Arena? Isn't that?
Yeah, but like it's out in the point by itself.
Oh, okay. You mean
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like the...
You still got to walk.
Yeah, I'm the lazy shit. I don't want to walk it.
okay.
I've got kids. I got.
If you're going to build these
Stuff.
terminals, you got to have
You gotta have-
facilities that are with them. So
Yeah, no, I'm all for that. I
Wilkinson's
just,
Point's got the room to make the car parking.
yeah, no, I just was like, I'm pretty sure there's a big car park there, Pat. Like, there's a big stadium with a car park. People park there.
Look,
But I see what you mean. Yeah, closer to the actual.
It may sound like a first world problem, but the problem is that that's exactly how a lot of people will think. So
Yeah.
it's, if it isn't convenient enough, it's like
I'll drive to
so-
town.
Yeah, exactly. I might as well just get where I want to go. So,
But the ferry moving to Wilkinson Point, because there is talk of the hotels and restaurants and everything going in there, so
Yeah.
it's a great position to have a ferry terminal. And then they talk about Rest Point, Sandy Bay. Well, there's another great location for another terminal. It's
yeah.
high density area with a lot of units. So the flexibility there is fantastic. And even coming back to that new stadium that's been drawn up for Hobart on the regatta grounds. Did you notice in the 3D renders, it was like Ferry Terminal Central on the front of it?
Yeah, which was really cool. And then they're also talking about in where the terminal is in the city at the moment at Bell Reef Pier. Oh, no, Bell Reef Pier, the one on the other side, they want that upgraded again to be kind of like, yeah, this is working, so let's like really bolster it, which, again, parking could be an added feature to that.
Yeah. It's
But
just
yeah,
a
they're
really-
talking like Rest Point Casino, Lindisfarne, Wilkinson's Point would be all great places where you can, get everyone to travel to here and then let's make our way to the city or wherever we work
And that's
from
it.
there.
And I just love the fact that, Hobart, the new infrastructure that they're building, they're obviously still thinking about this ferry system. So it must be getting some pretty good response from it so that new future plans are incorporating that into it. So,
Yeah.
it's a clever...
Well, and with now for the trialing that, obviously the bus fares are free. Well, I wouldn't say free; it's always subsidised. It's probably a better word to use.
Nah, free buses, mate. Call
Yeah.
free.
No
No
one's
one wants that subsidised bus fare.
Metro's just like, go for it, gang. You can have at it. And where then, if they start to think, because obviously that's still a separate private company at the moment, and then if maybe the future long-term plan is to just have it all as one interconnected, public service, operation.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know what that looks like or even if it's efficient.
Yeah.
But that way, if to get rid of the cars, we need the buses getting out into the suburbs.
Oh, I can't wait to see the little Metro branded e-scooters sitting around the Hobart City. See you later, Beam and whatever that other one's called, Neutron.
Yeah.
we're going on the Metro scooter.
Well, and that's it. But then what the cool thing is that if you're, when you're looking at the timetables, is it's as long as you can just look at the bus and that'll automatically set you up to the ferry where you need to be. Well, then you're not planning three different sort of things to make sure it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, as long as it all talks to itself and it kind of gets you from point A to point B with an efficient way and you don't have to walk too far like Paddy's. If you had to walk that extra 70 metres from...
Yep.
Ooh. In the colder winter, I totally understand. But I did think there was a big car park
Well,
there.
you go to any car park and you see people will do laps around it just so they can get to the closest side of the front door. Whereas if they just park 3 car parks down, they would have already been in the shop already.
Oh, it's the elevator. You got to be next to the elevator.
That's it.
You might have to go to the 10th story to get next to the elevator, but you have to.
No, I think it's very interesting. Like it says the Kingborough Council here as well, which I think like that would be a really key.
I think Kingston
spot
would be great.
If you could take a bunch of people off the Southern Outlet and have them kind of subverted around. Like what's the Peppermint Bay? Is Peppermint Bay
Yes,
cruise?
Peppermint Bay cruise,
that's
yeah.
a beautiful cruise. Like you go on that, you see some wildlife. Imagine rolling into work and there's some seals just sitting there having a little sunbake in the morning. I'd be all for it.
Well, I guess too is not everyone wants to drive a car. It just means that they have to. There's no other way of getting into where they need to be at the moment. And to give a much more feasible option that people can sit back and enjoy. I mean, even if you just said, okay, it's added an extra half an hour to my day, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that goes, sweet, I'm just going to read a book.
Yeah, I get extra time to listen to my podcast. So
Yeah.
I get extra time to listen to the Property Pod. Those boys just talk about some amazing things,
Yeah,
and I just want to hear more and more and more.
It's so good. I listened to it twice.
Just to hear all their info. No, look, I think, boys, we might end it up there.
Yeah.
It was, it's fun to be back on the mics. I had a great time listening in and seeing Pat kind of brain explode, pressing the buttons and framing up the images wrong. But what Chris had to say last week was excellent, and we definitely will be reaching out for him for...
We'll be back soon for another episode. We're working on the next one now.
Excellent. Good to know. Great to be back. Great to sit at the desk with you guys and have a yarn. And yeah, we'll see you all next week for some more Property Pod.
Sounds good.
Till then.
Awesome.
See ya.
Bye. You have been listening to the Property Pod, recorded and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Property Code.
This podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek then use their own investigation into any topic we discuss to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute and should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of this information without first seeking qualified and professional advice.